Mike.
I'm Angela.
And this is NFGeeks. All right, Angela, I want to talk about the functions of ENFP, and maybe I might do some of these with other people who've been on NFGeeks. Now, the functions are the specifics of extroversion, introversion, intuition, sensing, and all that. And this was a part of the Myers-Briggs training I went to, and I knew about it anyway. I normally don't talk about this on NFGeeks because I really just want it to be subjective, just people talking about their lives, and I don't like getting into Professor MBTI stuff. And also, I just wanted to keep NFGeeks operating on this kindergarten level. I didn't
want to get college on the bus.
That's right. No, not at all. I wanted to just be, conversations. But I wanted to do it with you and I because we have the same strengths and deficits.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be interesting then for you and I to talk about it, and then maybe I'll talk about this with the others. All right. So the first thing about us is that, and I'm going to go through our strengths, our best ones to our worst ones. So the first function is the dominant function, and that's the function that's the strongest, and is it's our strongest strength out of the four, out of the two in the middle, and for us, our strongest function is extroverted intuition. So our extroverted intuition is really the thing that's operating at our best, meaning that we can be obviously come up with abstract, intuitive ideas and connections about the external world.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not deep intuitive. Our intuition isn't inward.
It's more outward.
Yes, it's totally outward about what's going on outside of us, not definitely contemplating deeply intuitive ideas. We're having intuitive ideas, but it's because it's sort of like a spotlight out on the world. And because of our NFs, obviously, it's about people.
Yeah.
It's intuitive, deeply intuitive things, like making connections about people and motivation. So first of all, what's your thoughts about that? I know we've talked about this before, but I want to go through all four.
Well, I definitely feel that even just in my daily life, just you try not to think about it, but then you almost can't help but think about it, is I feel, especially when I'm in classes or I'm meeting new people, I feel like I have a lot easier of a time meeting new people or getting involved in groups, getting involved in certain things, because I feel like I'm not so worried about myself. I'm more trying to say, how do I get to know all these people around me? How do I get to understand what's going on around me? How do I get all this stuff mushed into my brain so I can understand it and put it back out to other people? Even if I'm learning something and I'm taking it in, I'm still finding a way of, if I'm getting this in, if I have to take this in, how am I going to be able to spit it out as quickly as possible, back out so that other people can understand what awesome things are like coming through my head. That's how I feel. And
sure.
It makes me more excited that way.
All right, perfect. Now, our next strongest function, which would still be strong and good because it supports the dominant function, it's called the auxiliary function. And for us, that's introverted feeling.
Yes.
Okay, so we actually feel things on the inside. We're not extroverted feelers. Our feelers aren't bubbling out. Even though we're extroverted, our emotions aren't actually directed out towards the world. They're actually directed inward. And a couple of things with that. One is that this is why our NF powers are pretty good. Well, all the NF powers are good. But the way ours works is that we pick up something sort of minute or kind of small motivation connected thing, and then we bring it in, and then we take this internal feeling about it to process it. On the inside, like how is it making us feel? And this is where ENFP, NF moments come from. We sense something in the world, we intuit something, and then we have an emotional inward reaction about it that gives us information. We judge what we're intuiting in our internal feeling.
Yeah.
So I have two things to say, but let's first comment.
So the one comment I would have to say about that is it works good and bad, because I feel like we've talked about in the past is judging situations and how they're going to turn out, good or bad, however we feel, and how it either turns out the way we think it's going to or how it doesn't, and then we're kind of figuring out how we got to that point in the first place. My big thing with taking things in feeling-wise is I feel like I have a good idea of judgment when I'm someplace where I'm not happy or someplace where I don't want to say don't feel safe, but I don't feel like this is a good place for me to be. And I feel like I have a pretty quick turnaround of something where if I know that a certain instance is going to make me miserable or it's going to make me uncomfortable, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to get out of it before I even have to keep dealing with it. So I feel like that happens to me a lot.
Well, another thing that I want to point out about the introverted feeling, I've had this experience. We might even have talked about it. I've made so many videos.
Probably, yeah.
But I want to bring it up again and for you to comment on it, is that, I find with being an introverted feeler, is that people don't really know when we're hurt or upset or angry. They kind of miss it.
Yeah.
And this is true of the INFP, and because they're introverted feelers, and on some level it's even worse because their introverted feeling is their dominant function, and so they're feeling things extremely deeply.
Yeah.
You know, it's sensitive. But I think people know that INFPs are kind of big crybabies sometimes. So you might not know what they're feeling, but you know, oh, there's something. But I think because we're extroverted, they don't realize we're hurt. Because we're sort of extroverted and our personality is going out to them.
Yeah.
And maybe that blocks them somehow. So, because I find when I say, you know, that really hurt me, I'm really angry about this, they're always shocked. They're like, really? And I'm always like, how could you not know? I mean, I'm an extrovert, but they don't. I think our introverted feeling gets hidden.
And we think that it's coming out, but it's really not.
No, it's not.
Almost sometimes I feel like I catch it where, like you just said, I could say to somebody, you know, this really made me upset. You really, really hurt me with this thing that you did or this thing that you said or how you completely disregarded, you know, even going back to my family is feeling like certain ways that I was feeling. I couldn't understand why nobody could understand it. And when they told me, I didn't know you were feeling this way. How could you not feel that? I was totally doing that. But in reality, it's even though I was feeling really terrible, for some reason it was still coming out as I was fine. And nobody could see it or catch it other than the only other people who have been able to catch things, and you and I have had these instances just even in regular life, is we're able to catch them. I feel like other ENFPs can catch on to certain things, or even INFPs or INFJs or anything like that, where I have even friends who I don't spend that long of a time with, but even if I'm just catching up with them, they're automatically like, something's going on. Something's not really right.
You know, the funny thing is when it's extroverted feeling, like, I think for Mike it might be more obvious. Mm-hmm. Like, even though he's very introverted and very quiet, when he's mad about something, it's not a mystery.
No.
You know, he's mad about X and he's letting you know that little thing really upset him. And, you know what I mean? It's not like
pissed,
right, it's not a mystery.
Yeah.
You know, it's all coming out, even though he's an introvert. Whereas we have the opposite problem. And I think that shocks people with the INFJ. Because they're so introverted, you don't expect them to send this, what Dave used to call this laser beam of hate. You know?
I feel like one thing about that is because they're introverted feelers and it's a dominant thing, they have a little bit more time to think about how, do I want this to come out? Do I not want this to come out? Do I care? Do I care about if this person pissed me off enough, do I care that I'm going to yell at them right now? I feel like they almost have enough time where their power is saying, I'm taking this in, and they have a quick turnaround of, this is how I'm feeling, I already know what it's feeling, I'm pissed off, I'm going to spit it out, here it comes. Versus maybe with us, it's a little bit slower because our other feelings are outward, and the only ones that come inward is stuff that we're feeling about ourselves at that time.
Sure.
I don't know if maybe if you feel that same way, but I that's the way I feel about it, is maybe, especially with him, that I feel like when he's upset, it's a quick turnaround from when that thing happens to when he gets upset.
All right, so let's get to our worst functions. These are the functions that we stink at as ENFPs. And when I think about it, it's true. And the next one's called the Tertiary Function, and to me that just means second worst. Okay, it has this whole definition, but when I hear about it, I think, okay, this is the thing I suck at. I don't suck as bad as the last one, but I still suck at this. This is how I interpret it. And it's extroverted thinking. Okay, extroverted thinking. And what that means, extroverted thinking means being able to externalize organization into the environment, okay, in an orderly, rational way, okay? And so I have a couple of instances where I stink at this. And one, you probably didn't know you're experiencing it until I just said it right now. But like when I'm teaching and someone's asking me a question I need to think about, I have a ton of false starts when I answer them. Yep. So say, Mike, what do you think about this? And I'll say, well, maybe it means, no, that's the wrong word. No. Wait, let me start again. No, I think what they meant by this was that, or was it that, you know what I mean? Like I kind of fumble and bumble through the answer.
I've definitely caught that,
right? You know, and I don't feel bad about it. I'm externaling, and this is why it is extroverted thinking, because I'm externalizing my thought process. I'm actually saying it out loud. And and this other ENFP made a video once, this kid said this, and it's true. He said, you know, when he thinks, he's thinking right here. This is where his thoughts are taking place. And I think that too, like when I'm having this external thinking moment, it's right there, but it's all sort of mismatched. You know, it's not as flowing when I'm doing this.
It almost seems like you're mumbling, or you're like, or you're rambling. That's what it seems like. It seems like it's almost like you're pushing it out faster than you can actually organize it.
Yes.
Especially when you're excited about something. Does it seem to you like that happens too?
Yes,
Especially when you're not really going.
Right, and I'm not good at organizing it, and that's why, like, I'll say something and then I'll catch it and think, no, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm saying it out loud, like it's not even going on in my head, like I'm speaking this way. So it's hard to, that's one thing. All right, do you have something similar before I go on with this?
Just going kind of on the same note where I feel like maybe in class, and again, maybe it's something that you've caught on me, is I feel like when I'm trying to answer a question, I know what I want to say and I know how I feel about it, but I'm trying to find a way to have it come out where everybody else is going to understand what I'm saying. And I'm worried literally as the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm more worried about if everybody's going to understand or if I'm going to look like a crazy person, how my words are coming out.
Well, most of the time they're not, because one thing that this relates to, maybe it's a good side effect, but I find that in terms of expressing reasoning, we're kind of nonlinear. Okay? So, like, for example, when I'm working on my dissertation, like, I don't start at chapter 1. Okay, I start in the middle, and then I do a little bit forward, and then I think, oh, you know what, this would be great if I began it like this, and then I think, oh, what? No, I need to do the end now differently. You know, it's all nonlinear. I don't go chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
I don't do that either.
Right, it's totally this nonlinear process. I can't do it reasonable. Another thing I do, even though this is very organized, I do those lecture notes, right? You've seen my lecture notes. Now, those are very organized. They take a long time for me to make. But the reason why I have those what do you call it? Those lecture notes in a certain order, in a pattern, an outline, is because if I don't have that right in front of me, I'm going to just go all over the place. Now, granted, I teach the same classes all the time, and so I have it all in memory. Like, I don't need to I don't need to look at my lecture notes to talk about Aristotle. I could just whip it up all on the board right now. But if I don't have that thing right in front of me showing the direction, I'm going to go way off and start talking about 10 million things.
See, I understand, I can see how that happens, because even when you and I talk just in general, even when it's
even
not
on
in class,
NFGeeks, yeah.
even on NFGeeks, if we don't have a set plan in motion, it could go 6 different directions, where even in classes I've seen, not with you, but with other teachers that maybe aren't as organized, I can see how very quickly it goes right off topic, it takes a total left-hand turn instead of staying on track because it's not organized, and I feel like we're the worst at that.
Right, and I don't even write linearly. My dissertation, this is great, is actually a dialectic. So I just go round and round and round in the chapter. So chapter 1 is about this, but then chapter 2 is this other thing, and then chapter 3 is back to chapter 1, and then chapter 4 is back to chapter 2. It's going round and round and round. It's not this linear thing at all, All right, now the last one, I'm going to put it up so we can read it a little bit while it's in front of us, so we don't. This is one we suck at the most, and that's introverted sensing. Okay, and I have to admit, this really sucks. And the thing about introverted sensing is when you're taking concrete things in and you're remembering it. Now you might think, well, I have a great memory. And here's how you have a great memory and a shitty memory. The great memory is when you remember something of emotional content and you're trying to think about the motivations of people. Like, oh, that time when that person took that ball, this is what they were really doing. We remember that. But things like, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday, or phone numbers, or, oh, I got to get back to that person. Things like that, like remembering that kind of stuff, we're worse at. So, Do you have examples of this? Because I do.
I have a ton, and even just the ones that you've said are examples where I forget birthdays all the time, unless they're specific people of emotional importance to me. My boyfriend, my mother, my best friend.
Even then, here's something happened just recently. I was with the doctor, in case you haven't been following this, I'm back with the doctor. But I was with the doctor, and we were in the car. We're like having, like a brief dinner. Like I met her at work, and we went to this beach that's near work, and we're just having dinner quickly, and privately. And she had to do paperwork or something, and she said, "What's the date?" And so she looked on her phone. She said, "This is like 7:00 at night." She said, "Oh, it's September 18th." And all of a sudden, I went, oh my God, today's my sister's birthday. Now, it's been 7:00 at night now, okay? And I totally didn't know it was her birthday. And so I went home and I called her right away, because she doesn't live in the same state. So I called her right away, and this is what I said to her. I said, Liz, this is my sister. I said, okay, Liz, listen, you know how you call me on my birthday? Okay, you really have to call me on your birthday too. Okay, if you want to talk to me on your birthday, you have to call me on your birthday. So call me on my birthday, and then call me on your birthday, okay? And I thought, oh, that's so ENFP.
That's been happening, the same thing to me, as I've been supposing to have called my grandmother who lives far away from me and can't drive or anything. I've been meaning to call her for about probably 6 weeks now. I'm a terrible grandchild because I never call her and I never talk to her. But when I see her, it's this big deal. I make a huge deal of it, and it's a big thing.
Sure, and this happens with friends. Another thing, and another thing that happens is we have trouble responding to emails because we forget that we got this email.
We do that to each other.
I know, it's terrible with each other. Sometimes we don't respond for like weeks.
Oh, it's
you know what I mean?
terrible.
Like 10 days will go by because you'll email and then you'll forget that you emailed, and I'll forget that you emailed me, and then I'll remember and I get back to you, and then it's like 5 days later.
Exactly.
You email me back.
Yep.
Two ENFPs trying to email each other, it's like carrier pigeons.
No.
You know, it's terrible. I don't know if this relates to internal sensing, but I think all this comes together. And I've heard about this with a couple of ENFPs, and it might not be with you, but it is with me. ENFPs are notorious to be a little bit of hypochondriacs, because we don't necessarily know what's going on in our bodies a little bit sometimes, and sometimes we'll have a pain. I'm like, okay, what's this? What's that? I don't know. Do you have any hypochondriac moments?
Yeah, and it actually relates a big deal in my life. Not to a certain extent, but for the longest time, for probably like 6 years of my life, I was in and out of the hospital, and we never figured out what it was. Yeah, and so in the process of the fact that I was seeing some of the best doctors in the country and not knowing what it was, my brain started going to, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. I'm going to die. Am I going to die? What do I do if I'm going to die? Oh my God, there are so many things I don't do. Just a million thoughts running in my mind, not even going back to the fact where maybe if they don't know what it is, maybe it means that I'm okay. It just means that they haven't figured it out
right,
yet.
And it's because we have I think our internal sensing is bad because we can't concretely figure out what's going on with us, and we can't rationally figure it out either. You know, because
not a whole lot of rational thinking going on.
Right, so maybe that's why.
I can see too, the other thing I can go just kind of off of that is I feel like that happens to me in life in general too, where I feel like if somebody's not responding to me, or if I have an argument with somebody, I feel like it goes the total opposite direction than it really is, where my best friend and I actually lost touch recently for a couple of months. She had her second child and she kind of dropped off the grid, and I'm like, oh my God, something must have happened. What if she's dead? What if something happened to the baby? What if this, that, and the other thing? And I was thinking, she hates me. I did something wrong. I didn't show up to the hospital. Like just crazy things were popping into my head, when in reality it was just, I couldn't pay my bill. I lost my phone. I decided to go off of Facebook. It was just simple, stupid things that were the dumbest things in the world, that I felt like crap afterwards for feeling that way. And my brain just went 1,000 different directions, and it couldn't think concretely where there's got to be some reasoning to this. Instead, I was like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end kind of thinking, you know?
Perfect.
So.
All right, so we're over our time, so
Yay.
good job.
Thanks.